Oh, man.
Hey, old man on the mat crew. This is Tony Jones coming at you with another great episode of Old Man on the Mat. Guys, as I always say, yes, I said all the frickin' time. I'm very excited. I'm stoked. I'm excited because every day you take a breath is a good day. Sometimes I do wake up thinking, damn it, he ain't done me yet. I got to get up and do stuff. But guys, listen up. Hey, check us out. Before I do anything, check us out on all the platforms where you get all your podcasts from: Apple, YouTube, blah, blah, blah. All the places out there. We're there. Make sure you like, share us, and check out our merch that we're dropping all the time. New merch coming out almost every week over there at oldmanonthemat.com. I appreciate you guys so far for all the stuff you guys have been doing to support us. Also, we have new rash guards starting up here very soon. So, guys, I'm telling you, I'm stoked. I'm very fired up for this young lady that we have coming on. She's not in our normal age, but you know what? Her spirit and her aggression on the mat is. So, guys, real quick about her. And you know, I read some of these things and I'm thinking, how can she do all this stuff at such a young age? My gosh. Well, she's probably one of the best judokas I know out there. Her credentials are here. She's a 2021 Olympian, and with all the Olympics going on, I hope you guys are watching the Judo Olympics. And you'll see her get a little inkling of what she does every day to probably most of the children in the classes. But anyway, she's a 3-time senior national champion, 3-time Pan American medalist. And she has so many different, she's been on different world teams as a junior cadet, as a senior, everything else. Guys, with that, I give you Nefeli Papadakis, guys. Hi,
What's
Nefeli.
up,
How are you doing, girl?
I'm good. How are you doing, Tony?
Yeah, I'm breathing. I'm moving. In today's day and age, you got to smile, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you know what? I've known you, and I've known you for probably since I've been over at Carlos's Patty's place
Yeah,
over at Lake County Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
probably almost 10 years, right? Since I was
Yeah,
like teenager-ish, 14,
you
15.
were. And
Yeah.
guys, listen to this story. When I first met her, I get on the mat, and Carlos knew I did some judo from before, so he was like, "Oh yeah, Nefeli's doing something. She's about to train for something. I don't know, some kicking somebody else's ass in some tournament." So he was like, "Hey, can you run some drills with her?" And I'm thinking, "Oh sure, we'll do some fit-ins, where she's doing a little half a throw, but no one gets thrown." So I'm standing there, and she's doing these fit-ins, and I think it was on the third time she threw me so hard. Man, I guarantee you I forgot math. I'm
Oh my
telling you.
God.
I
That
was like,
was
this
my
lady,
that was my teenage brain.
oh my
My
God.
undeveloped frontal lobe.
Is that
Sorry.
what that was?
It must have been. I don't remember it, so it was like a fever dream for me.
Oh,
My
is that
end.
what it was? I remember every bit of it. Trust me. Man, but you at such a young age, you were I don't want to say aggressive, but I mean, you were into it. You were into that competition mindset.
Yeah.
When did you start all that?
So, well, from the beginning, I started judo when I was 4.
Oh
I have an older brother named George, and my dad put him in judo just because my dad boxed growing up, but he did a little judo in college, so he really liked it, and it's definitely safer for kids than just boxing and getting punched in the head all the time.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
my brother started it, and I kind of was sitting on the sidelines, and I wanted to do what my older brother was doing, so I got to jump into class from a young age because I was quiet. I didn't talk a lot. I was pretty reserved as a kid. And it's just something that I really loved doing. I liked going after school, after kindergarten.
Oh my
After
God.
Yeah, I liked going to practice and sparring, and I was a pretty quiet kid growing up, so I feel like I was really able to make friends there cuz we had like that common interest right off the jump. So that's what got me really hooked on it, I guess you could say. And then competing came maybe a little bit later, maybe once I was like 5 or 6, like after a year or so, because I was so
Jeez.
young. But it was like local tournaments and stuff, just warming up my feet. And once I started seeing some success at the local level, we tried, I think I was 8 or 9 when I did my first nationals as a
My God.
kid. And I
Oh my
got
God.
like destroyed, annihilated.
Oh man, really?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I lost every match. My first
Wow.
nationals, I got stomped, but I came back the next year and I won because
Wow.
I was a pissed off 9-year-old, and I was like, you know what? coming back for you guys. But
What
I think
were
that
you, like,
kind of,
nervous? Was that nervousness or anything that got you to lose, you think? Was it just such a bigger scale or what?
I'm sure a little bit. I mean, I can't say I remember everything to the T. I just remember
Yeah,
losing and being like upset, that I lost
yeah,
to like these girls because I was at the local level. I was used to like going out there fighting the same like five girls, whatever,
yeah,
every couple months, and like I knew I could beat them, so I was fine. But you take that step up in level, and it's a different game, it's a different atmosphere. Um, I'm fighting all the girls that were like me. I'm sure that were winning their local tournaments and regional kind of meets. So
yeah.
it was important for me though to learn how to lose because I don't know if I was a sore loser in terms of like bitterness as a kid, but I would cry, man. I would
Oh,
like
wow.
yeah, I was just so used to going out there and performing well. When I lost, it just always like it hit me really hard because I was like, man, I tried so hard for this and blah blah blah. My dad's my coach, so I was
Oh,
like, my
wow.
dad's gonna be disappointed in me, and which he wasn't. He didn't. I mean,
Of course
I was
not,
like
yeah.
6. He could care less. He's just like, good job, you got out there. But for me, I took it serious. I think from a young age, so that definitely helped
Wow.
shaped how I continued my path in judo.
Wow. So you think that losing in the beginning with such an early age, you losing was probably launch you to be better and all that kind of stuff, and it help your mindset too, right?
I think so, and I think even with the kids I coach today, like it's so important to know how to lose and come back. Like that's one of the biggest life skills you're going to take away from doing martial arts, It's judo's a hard sport. Judo's not an easy sport. Um
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just the physical aspect, but the mental. Like, it's not a team sport where if you guys lose, it's like you lose your basketball game, there's 12 of you on the team.
Yeah.
Everyone, played a part in it. But when you go out there by yourself to fight another kid and you come out with the short end of the stick, you're kind of bummed and you're like, I wasn't good enough kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you learn to kind of reroute that thought into not into I wasn't good enough, just like I didn't do it on this day. And then you come back and you
Mm.
do it different. But
That's
I think that's
huge.
important. Yeah, that's what I tell the little kids that I coach now. Like, it's not the end of the world if you lose. You go out, you
Yeah.
train your hardest, you do your best. If you come up short, you just fix whatever you have to fix and then you go back in there. You can't
Oh,
be
wow.
the fear of failure things like really big for me.
Oh, yeah, and you see that a lot nowadays. And now,
Oh yeah.
on that subject of dealing with the kids, do
Hmm.
you, especially today's day? And I'm not going to bash today's day at all. Everybody's different. Every generation is
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
But do you see a lot of that? I want to quit because I lost, or he beat me, and I'm just really pissed off, and I'm going to cry later to my parents, and the parents come on and say, "My little Billy lost. Why?" Any of that going on?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely experienced that in the past. Not necessarily with the kids I have right now, but just
Yeah.
like throughout my life. Like I've had friends that have done it. I've coached kids that have done it. I've been on like all the ends of that kind of situation. I think the biggest thing is parents not letting their kids quit just because they had a bad experience.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's not even really a bad experience. Like you have to look at it in the big picture and be like, okay, they lost this one time. They need to go back out there and challenge themselves again because that's how you grow.
Right.
Competing is not for everyone. I think it's good for people to at least try to do and make a commitment to do because, not everybody, it's just not for everyone. It's some people love it, some people hate it. If you hate it
Yeah.
and you're like riddled with anxiety every time you compete, yeah, maybe you don't need to try to be an Olympian. Like that's fine.
Right.
I'm not
Right.
telling I'm not telling any of these kids to like be the next Olympic member or like play in the NBA or whatever they want to do. I just need them to try.
Right. 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 But I see a lot of that nowadays. I think everyone looks at a lot
Yeah,
of athletes and or you'll look at everything out there and I've got to be the best, but if you're not the best, why try anything? And I think that's a crazy mindset.
that's so lame. I've always thought that was so lame. Like, you sell yourself that short. Like, if that's
Yeah.
what you're going in with, I guess don't do it. But I'm pretty confident the kids we have today, like win or lose, they will go out there and they will fight hard. We have like
Yeah.
there's a standard for kids that are good gonna compete, and that's a big one. Like if I see them going into practice and giving up every day, like I'm not gonna tell them to go out there and compete. Like
Yeah.
you're gonna go out there and you're gonna give up just like you are at the gym, you know? You kind of
Yep.
have to learn that at the gym during sparring or whatever drills are a little challenging and stuff like that so you can build your confidence. Because when you're a kid, you know, you don't really, some kids might have it like from the jump, but most kids, you really have to learn that because again, it's not like you lost a game. It's like you're
Yeah.
fighting somebody and you got probably beat up a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's a little extra, bums you out.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I was young, and I think I said this before, I stopped using the well, my coach had told me back before, he didn't like us using the term of we lost.
Hmm.
He say we got beat was fine, but we lost
Yeah.
because it was right. He used to think, well, can we put that in our heads of being a loser?
Hmm.
Just for whatever mindset it was. And so I try my best. Like today, I get beat a lot on the mat. So I don't say I lost. I say, yep, he kicked my ass today.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I get
Man,
that.
but you started so young and still, how old are you now?
I'm 25.
Oh, still a baby. Oh my gosh. Because I look at you, like I said, I've known you for this 10 years, and I see that you were such a young person coming in, and you've always had that competitive spirit. You
Yeah.
still look like that same person, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I like grew up around it too, because when I started judo, my gym in Gurnee that I started at when I was a little kid, that head coach's kids were like very talented. They were like they didn't quite make an Olympic team, but they were like fighting at the world, making world teams and finishing top 7, top 10 at those events and stuff. They were very competitive. And his oldest daughter specifically was my like role model, very much so my
Wow.
role model growing up. She
Wow.
was like a high schooler. Like I'm sure it's like what I was like for whatever little kids I had at that age, but she was like so cool. I was like, she's going to like tournaments and like Olympic trials and she's like doing all this stuff. And I literally was like, I want to be like her. Like, I want to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So that I think being around that consistently from a young age was also something that really, really played a role in making me want to do it for myself. And I think that's
Okay.
another factor with the whole quitting because you lost thing. Like, if you're forcing your kid to get in there and compete, I don't necessarily think that's right.
Yeah.
I think that's something your kid's going to want to have to do for themselves. Because otherwise, yeah, they're going to be super scared and nervous, like
Hmm.
they just need a little bit more time to build up that confidence on the mat at the dojo and
Yeah.
then kind of break out of that shell.
Yeah. Yeah. That's brilliant, man. You are great, man. 'Cause I'm telling you, and I'm not going to blow sunshine at anybody, but you knowing what you know, and I get the pleasure of seeing you now as coming from such a young person to this badass, and I say that because I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about the ladies in the gym, and you find you don't put all your fat on these ladies and just smush them in the mat. I'm like, I try not to, but they get to kicking my ass, and I said, but one person, or there's a couple ladies in there, but one in particular was you, Nefeli. That when we sparred back in the day, when I come to night class, we had a chance to spar.
Yeah.
I would have to really come at you like I'm competing against a guy because you are no joke. Oh man, I was terrified.
Someone got to be the ladies' mat enforcer. So
Is that what it
had to do
is?
had to do God's work, Tony. No, I'm just kidding.
And you are,
I do look
man.
out for the ladies, but
You do, but you get, but over there it's a great group of ladies though.
oh
But
yeah, for sure. We have a good
and
crew.
But I'm telling you, see you and Patty and with kitchen roll with you guys. I'm like, all right, what am I gonna do? I better hold on for dear life. Just hold on. Don't get thrown. Don't get thrown. Oh man. Now you train with a lot of guys too. I see you training mostly with guys, right?
Yeah, you honestly, when it comes time for like me to compete, at least for judo, definitely.
Yeah.
Look, if I had like for jujitsu, if I had the option to train with like a room of 10 black belt, like high level women
Yeah.
and 10 guys, like, yeah, I'm probably gonna go with the ladies just because girls move a little bit different, the timing's a little
Hmm.
different, the pace, obviously the physical strength and agility
Yeah.
is a little different. But I, you know, I'm thankful that we have a good group of women to train with, but at the same
Yeah.
time, like some of them are a little smaller than me, like lighter than me. Um,
Right.
and respectfully, some of them are like, in their 30s and 40s, and I don't
Yeah.
it's hard for me to go 100% and train very, very hard with them all the time when I have a
Yeah.
tournament coming up. But if I was going with like Roz, like I don't care. Like he'll be
Right.
fine. So
He'll live.
yeah, I can let loose a little bit more, or even like Jared or like some of the not enormous guys, but like a little bit bigger guys where I'm like, I know they won't hurt me and I can still go like 100% with them and they won't get hurt type of
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah.
That's kind of my ideal situation. So I definitely mix it up amongst the two.
Yeah. And I can see that because, like I said, you have such a positive aggression. I mean, I hate to, you don't want to sound like someone's running around with a chain on your neck, growling, "Give me, let me kill somebody."
Oh
No,
God.
but you have a positive aggression. Well, there's one lady there. I'm gonna call her out, Kim. She's like that. You need to put a chain on that woman
Kim's
because, man,
crazy. Kim is
she's
so
crazy.
strong. Kim is
Oh
so
my
strong.
god.
Kim, if you're listening to this,
Yeah. Oh my god. We
no,
we
she's
rode
super strong.
yesterday. She's awesome, but we rode yesterday, and okay, let me go a little light. Oh my god, I'm fighting for my life. Get off me, get off me.
No, something happens when they have like young kids, they are so strong. Her
Yeah.
Janina is so strong. I tell them all the time, I'm like, those girls, I'm like, you guys better listen to your mom because she is a strong lady. Kim can wrestle. It's
Yeah.
impressive. It really is impressive.
It's very impressive. And like I said, I'm not trying to be the guy that's going to be a fat guy and smush all the ladies, but when I go at Kim, I'm laying on her as hard as I can. Don't let her get up. Please don't let her get up. She's gonna kill me. Well, on that note, how did you go about, or how did you take training from your dad?
Yeah, I mean, it was my dad did a very good job of not like helicopter parenting me too hard.
Yeah.
Obviously there was little crossover, but there's gonna be when you go home and you're still with your coach.
Hmm.
Um, but he did, especially once I got older and he I think trusted more and more that I knew what I was doing, which took quite a long time. um, it definitely there was a balance. It wasn't like 100% of the day we're talking about judo and strategy and all this stuff. It was like when we went to the gym, it was serious, and when we went home, that was like the cutoff. There wasn't always like talking to me about how to beat this girl and what to do to this girl and how to defend this thing. Like
Hmm.
it was and that's important, especially when you're
Yeah.
young. Like when I was a teenager, of course we like butted heads a
Well,
ton.
of course, of
But
course, yeah, of
that was
course,
gonna happen in whatever I was doing.
yeah.
It wasn't just because it was judo. But yeah, as I got into my like later teen, like 19, 20, and I was really on my Olympic run, he definitely eased up a ton on like what he was telling me and stuff, just because it gets to be a lot, it's a lot going
Oh yeah,
home and hanging out with your dad, who's also your coach, who's also it piles up after a while. So I'm very thankful for that because I know a handful of kids, their dad was their coach growing up and it was fine, but then they quit their sport because it was too much, or they
mm,
were always on them, or on them
wow,
about weight, on them about doing this, on them about doing that. So I'm very thankful that was not like my situation.
yeah. You had that breather a little bit. He had a dad that became. He was a dad, then he was a coach when it was time to be a coach, but a dad when it
Yes,
was time to be a dad.
for
That's
sure.
that's that's huge. Now, when you were making, or when you let's go back. I want to see, when did you know that you were going for the judo for the Olympic team?
So when did I know I wanted to do it? Like for
Okay,
real?
yeah, yeah,
I think I was so when I was little, yeah, I wanted to do it when I was like 6 or 7, right? I was like, I want to be an Olympian. I had that dream,
yeah.
but and no disrespect to all the, little guys who want to do it. Like when I see a kid's Instagram pop up on my thing that follows me or something, and it's like 2052 Olympic hopeful, I'm like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, I can't even count that far. Like it is good to have like that aspiration, but at the same time, like you really don't know until you start to compete at the senior level, at least for judo. Um, in the United States, at least, a lot of us were good as cadets, meaning under 18
Hmm.
division, and then
Hmm.
juniors is an under 21 years old division. A lot of us do well at the cadet level. It's a very even playing field. Juniors, it's kind of half and half. Like we do pretty good, but definitely better on the younger team. And then once you hit the senior level, it's like a completely different beast. It's not
Wow.
uh you're not fighting. I could be fighting a senior level tournament at 20 years old just because I wanted the challenge, whatever. But
Hmm.
I could be going up against a grown woman who's like 28 and medaled two
Wow.
times at the past Olympics, which I've
Holy
done like time
cow.
and time again. So
Wow.
that point, it's a lot of like experience that really, I don't want to say kills it, but it
Yeah.
is like that's a really, really big difference. Experience is something you can't get by training really hard.
Yeah.
You literally need to put in years and years of work to get to the point where some of the other ladies are at. So that's definitely a big one. But for me, when I was in high school, early high school, my dad sent me, it's probably because I was butting heads with him so much. He sent me on a trip to train in Japan. And
Oh,
for whoever's listening doesn't know, Japan is the like home place for the birth of where judo came from. So,
right.
um, he sent me there for 2 weeks to train at a high school.
Wow.
I was like 14, 15.
Holy
I got
cow.
beat up so bad for
Oh,
two
man.
weeks. Yeah, I was
Oh,
like, it's the
man.
hardest thing I've ever done because they train different there. They train very hard there. It's very intense, compared to here, especially the high school age kids.
Mm.
In Japan, generally, like the younger, if you're in like middle school and earlier, the practices, they're still challenging, I'm sure, but they're
Yeah.
not as crazy. They really let the kids love the sport first. At
Okay.
some schools, I'm not gonna say all of them,
Okay.
but in high school is when they start really amping up the level because in my eyes, I think they want to see who can like take the heat, who can keep going, who can push themselves
Okay.
to get to that next like step up.
Right.
But yeah, so I went there. I got beat up for 2 weeks when I was 14.
Oh,
I
my
cried
gosh.
again. I cried every day.
Oh, man. So what was different about their training? What was so different?
It was a lot. I thought I trained hard here.
Yeah.
I trained as hard as I knew to do, but when I went there, like here my practice would be like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and regular drilling and techniques and stuff, and then the last maybe 30 minutes of class was rounds, so maybe 5 or 6 rounds of sparring, like regular.
Mhm.
When I went there, it was 2 2-hour practices a day. The morning session was more technical, so it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
And the evening session was only sparring.
Oof.
So I will never forget. We did 21 rounds
Oh,
of
god.
sparring.
Oh,
And
my
what
god.
you would do is for some of the days we'd have like you'd get a sash from the coach.
Mm.
So you'd basically would put like a red sash around you like over your belt. And
Mhm.
if you had the sash, you stayed in for 7 rounds in a row.
Oh.
Yeah. And like,
Man.
when you're just like some random girl, like sometimes you get, I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
picked on. I don't think they were picking on me, but I was getting put in a lot for that because I'm there to train,
Right,
which
right.
I do appreciate, but it was hard for me. I was like, I was dying out there. I was like, oh my God, like what is this?
Oh, my
So,
gosh.
and in the heat, I was there in like August, like it gets so humid and hot there in August. It was really, really challenging for me, especially at that age. Um,
Wow.
so it was hard the first time around. I went back 2 years later when I was 16.
Oh, you wanted more?
I went back, Tony, and I was on the opposite end of it. I saw a lot more success than the first
Okay.
trip because I went back after the first trip and I was like, okay, we need to like reevaluate what we're doing here because I was like getting I was getting destroyed for two
Yeah.
weeks for what? So I worked really hard for like a year or two, went back a couple summers later, and then was on the opposite end of it. So that's
Awesome.
something that like that's probably one of my big make it or break it moments where I was like, okay, like, are you gonna go home and like cry that you got beat up for 2 weeks, or are you gonna change what you're doing and try to get on the positive end of things?
Right.
So that's definitely something I did. I still don't know. I don't know if it's because I was mad about it. I don't know if it's because I was butthurt that I got beat up, but whatever it was, it
It
like
worked.
triggered like yeah, it flipped the switch in me a little bit. And I was like, okay, we need to like do better here. We need to get something going because this isn't good enough. This isn't going to cut it if
Yeah.
doing the Olympics is something I want to do. And right around that early high school age is when you can start competing at the world level
Okay.
for judo. So, um, after that trip, when was it? 2015. Yeah, I was 16 years old. I had like cadet world championships. So that's like the under 18 years old world championships.
Okay.
And I took fifth place at that. And for me, that was a
Oh,
big deal. Not a lot of people from the US have like placed, there's a handful of people that have, but there's not a lot of us that have placed that high. So for me,
wow.
in my eyes, like that was a big deal. And I was like, I can really do this. Like the people who had done it or won it were like the Ronda Rouseys, the Kayla Harrisons, like the really big,
Oh, wow.
yeah, the big names. So I was like, oh my gosh, like I can do this. Like, and I don't have, it put some confidence in me.
Yeah.
So that was probably my make it or break it moment as far as that.
Wow. And you
Yeah.
were just like going for it. And now, do you get like they say, okay, you qualified now, you can try out for the Olympic team. How's that work?
No, I wish it was. Yeah,
That
I wish
easy, huh?
that's what it was. So there's no trials. There used to be Olympic trials for judo. They stopped that. Oh, I want to say 2016
Hmm.
they stopped that. It might have been 2012. That was a little before I was doing it, so I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But now the qualification is a world ranking list. So you have to travel to different Grand Prix and Grand Slams, Pan American Championships, Opens, like different continental opens pretty much.
Yeah.
Which the vast majority of them are in Europe and Asia. Like there's
Holy
maybe
cow.
one per calendar year that's on this hemisphere or
Wow.
this, yeah.
Wow.
Um, so you have to travel there and they super score you. So if I competed even if I competed like 12 times a year, which is a lot,
Mm.
um, they would only take the top 6 like finishes, like my 6 best results, and I'd get a certain amount of points allocated for those, add them up,
Wow.
and that would put you on a list with everyone in the world in your weight class.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So
Wow.
uh, I think it was top 22 women and top 22 men, I believe, for the Olympics.
Wow.
So it's a lot harder than than
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
trials. It used to be a trials, but I'm not super sure why they switched it. Uh I don't know what they'll do for this next one because when you're the host country for the
Yeah.
Olympic Games, you get a full team. So I'm not sure. Maybe they'll go back to a trials. To my knowledge, they still haven't announced that. So we'll see what
Gotcha.
they do there. But
Man, just the listening to everything you're saying along the
sounds
way to
crazy.
get it does.
It sounds
But
so crazy.
but the big thing out of it was your mindset during all this. You went and got your ass kicked over in Japan instead of you going home and licking your wounds and saying, I did it.
Yeah.
That was great. You
Yeah.
went back. It built you stronger. It made you want it more. I see. I love mindset. I really do. Strong
Yeah.
mindset is huge, and you have it. That's holy cow. Wow.
I think that's like the big difference maker and like I really want to say, like, if from an elite athlete to like a high performance athlete, like there's a difference
Hmm.
and it's very visible by someone's mindset. Like
Yeah.
even with little kids, I know they're little kids, but you'll see some little kids like not to toot my own horn, but like myself growing up who you'll see like maybe they'll get beat up at practice, but they'll come back with like almost a vengeance and
Yeah.
they'll be like, no, like they don't accept it, You're not
Yeah.
accepting the loss. Like you're acknowledging it, but not just, you're not embracing it and being like, well, I guess I lost one time, so I'm a loser and
Yeah.
that's just it. You're
Right.
like, I'm not a loser. I know I lost, but I'm better than this. So yada yada yada. And then you kind of
Wow.
switch up. That's
Oh
so
man,
important. I feel like
that's
any
huge.
high level athletes that like, you see in interviews or even talking in books and articles, whatever, like mindset's so big. And
Yeah.
it's probably the biggest thing people skip out on because it's the hardest part.
Ah, I need to put that on a shirt. No joke. That is huge right there. And I've listened to I love a lot of motivational books, personal image books, all those kind of things.
Hmm.
And that is the sum of it all right
Yeah,
there. The
for sure.
hardest part is the mindset.
For
I
sure.
will, I'm going to put that on a shirt, but I'm going to make a joke
Because you
though.
can't, you can't like cheat. Like even athletes who cheat and they like take like performance enhancing stuff,
Yeah.
You can take as many steroids as you want. You can do as much EP, whatever. I don't even know what's out there besides those two.
Yeah, you
But
and me
like,
both. That's all.
yeah, you can do all that stuff. But if you're weak minded and you just don't have it in you, you don't have it in you.
Yeah,
Like, that's
yeah.
how I used to look at all the people that I had inklings or assumptions that they were potentially taking extra supplements.
Hmm.
In my head, I had to frame it differently because I'm like, what am I going to do? Just be like, cry that they're super insane strong because they're taking steroids? Like, no, in my head, and I still tell myself this because I think they're super lame for it. I'm like,
Yeah.
they're too weak minded. Like, they're not confident enough in themselves to go out there with what they got. So they do this.
Right.
So for me,
Right.
I was like, that's like a loophole. That's like the chink in your armor. Like, you
Yeah.
can't handle it in your brain. So I don't care.
Wow, that's perfect. That is perfect. When you step on the mat, do you look at that when you see a opponent across the way? You may have known this person not, but do you look for some kind of weakness in them, or you just do? I'm gonna do my game or anything like that.
Mostly I'm gonna do my game.
Yeah.
Just because like I hate whether they're brand new or whatever. Like, underestimating people is so 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 dangerous.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
you go out there. If I went out there and for judo and fought like I don't know, like a girl who's fighting in like a brown belt or a purple belt or something, like if you're there to compete, like I'm sorry, sorry if I throw you super hard, but I'm like, you sign up for this division. We're all here to compete. Like,
Yeah.
that's just how it is. And then you'll get to wherever you're gonna get one day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
There's no like free chicken. You can't go in there underestimating people because that's when you get caught up.
Exactly.
Problems. Nothing good
Like,
ever came out of that.
right? Lifelong problems because it sticks in your head for a long time.
It
Holy
does.
cow. Now, do you remember maybe that you do remember you have so many matches out there. Do
Yeah.
you remember your toughest one?
Oh man. I mean, at the like senior Olympic level, they were all tough.
Yeah.
I never went to a tournament and was like, well, that's a cakewalk. Like that never happened for me, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, no, man, I don't know. I looked at everybody as like a hard match. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of something. I probably had more harder matches when I was a kid mentally, just because of like the nerves and kind of getting over that obstacle. But I
Yeah.
definitely got to a point, even when I was like high school aged, where I just was like, I was confident in myself, like confident in my preparation from a young age, that I didn't go out there like, oh, this is the toughest girl. I've never been the kid that was like, oh man, this is the toughest girl in like my division. And like, I don't know. I was like,
Yeah.
guess what? Like, I'm here. Like, maybe that was me. Maybe I was the toughest girl in my division. So I didn't freak out about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I never let them have that. My dad was big on mindset too. And he's like, well, if you go out there like that, you already lost. Like, why
Right.
even, what's
Right.
the point even? Like, you're going to go out there and be like, tell yourself that this girl is better than me and blah, blah, blah. Like, why? You don't
Right.
even know that yet because you lost to her once. Judo is definitely the kind of sport. If you were watching the Olympics, so many upsets.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
anybody's day every single day. Like you just don't
Yep.
know. There's
Yep.
definitely like the champions where you're like they just don't lose. But in the same token, like those are the people, they're not going out there thinking like, oh, I have this kid from like I don't know, some random person they've never heard of before. They're still going to go out there and throw that kid just as hard and go just as hard with them because you're not going to take any
Exactly.
chances. You're not going to risk that.
Yeah. Wow, man. I've seen judo, and I was on the judo team at Iowa State and all that stuff,
Mhm.
but coming to and seeing what judo's come now, and then watching you for the most part. Oh my gosh, it's blossomed so much out there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy, man. Oh my gosh. I remember my first judo tournament. I step across the mat. I was thinking it was an orange belt, and I step across, and it was just weight division. And I was
Oh
100
yeah.
100 and I think it was 140 pounds. Yes, I was small, girl.
Ooh.
And I step on the mat, the CrossFit was a black belt. So, that
Yeah. Yeah.
was a good match.
And it's really hard to put yourself in a frame of mind in that situation though. Like
Yeah.
we were just talking the other day when we were doing line drills at the gym and it was like Well, with Carlos, it was like when people would get him for like open guard drill or something, they just assume in their head that they lost.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Like that's such a problem. Like you can't, it's a hard thing to break through. It's definitely challenging, but again, like that mental aspect of it, you cannot go in there being like, well, I'm going with Carlos. He's a black belt, so he's just gonna like destroy me and like,
right.
whether that happens or not, like the likelihood is very high, but I'm like,
Yeah.
you can't go in just assuming that, you have to go in thinking like, let me try this and see if I can catch him, you know?
Yes,
And if you
yes,
fail, yeah, whatever, you failed, but like you have to reframe it in your head that it's possible.
yeah.
Otherwise, it's like you are kind of wasting your time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. But it's that intimidation, like you said a few minutes
Yeah.
ago, that mindset. You go in and you see that black belt standing there, you're like, ugh, gosh,
Mhm.
it's gonna suck, you
That's
know.
why I say sometimes like sometimes adults are harder to coach than kids in a weird way.
Well,
Like,
but I don't think it's weird because I think adults have that a lot of failures and everything in their heads
yeah.
from that their life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's sticking in there.
Yeah.
And so the kids are just bad. No, I'm just joking. But
Oh.
oh man. Now on that same note, when did you start with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu out there in Lake County? Well, what made you go to those guys when you were looking to get into Brazilian Jiu Jitsu?
So, fun fact.
I like fun facts.
I have known Carlos, my God, probably since I was like 7 or 8 years old. I was like real little.
Wow.
Yeah. He didn't quite open his own school yet at the time, but uh I don't know, my dad was looking up gyms, whatever, and he found Carlos and Patty and uh well, he found Carlos, not Patty yet.
Yeah.
I knew
Yeah.
Carlos before he knew Patty, like forever
Oh
ago.
man.
Yeah.
Before his soft side comes in.
Still waiting on that.
Right? Right.
Um But yeah, he was doing classes at some gym in Lake Forest when I was a kid. I can't remember the name, but I was there for maybe a year or two and it was very sporadic. Like I'd go once a week maybe when I could.
Yeah.
Um and then once I turned 12 or 13, I started going to a different gym. Patty just happened to be at that gym, so my dad, I didn't have anyone to train with and I was so shy. So my dad walked up to Patty, like white belt Patty. This is forever
Yeah.
ago. And he's like, "Will you be my daughter's training partner?" Because she's like a nerd and she can't. I was so shy. I wasn't going to go ask her. And
Right?
yeah, we were like the same size then. I was a little smaller, a little lighter, whatever. And we still laugh about it because she was probably like, who is this weirdo guy coming up to me? But yeah, and then I just stuck with them, and I'm really thankful I did.
Yeah.
Since the first school, yeah, yeah.
Oh man. Now, how has Brazilian Jiu Jitsu helped your judo, or vice versa? Because now, are you still training? Are you still competing in both now, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and judo, or are you leaning towards one more than the other, or are you just doing it all?
I'm definitely leaning towards jujitsu more than judo. I'm like pretty much retired from judo.
Okay.
I have a lot of starting from such a young age, I do have a lot of like knee stuff
Oh
going
yeah.
on. My hips are
Oh,
messed up a little.
oh yeah.
Like,
Those throws.
yeah, like
Oof.
I'm fine, but also there was a lot of growth plates that got messed up probably in the process, I'll
Right.
say.
'Cause you would have
So
been like 3 foot taller, right?
nah, dude, I'm half Filipino. No way.
That's
No
right.
way.
No way.
Actually for
Oh,
Filipinos, we have a tall like my mom's 5'4", 5'3" or something. She's tall for a
she's a
Filipino.
giant.
Yeah. And her brother's actually tall. He's like 6'1", I think.
Holy cow.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to us, but
Right? It's the gene skips.
but yeah, definitely
Oh,
more jujitsu than judo. It's fun because it's just different. It's like a new challenge. Judo
yeah,
is something I took so seriously for so many years. It's not that I do have fun doing it now because I can like relax and just like
yeah.
have fun at practice, but it is hard for me still a little bit to show up and like not turn it on because that was
Mm.
my life for like 20 years straight. You know what I mean? Like
Oh,
just
yeah.
always showing up, always trying to be on, always trying to fix X, Y, and Z. Like
Yeah.
it was intense for a long time. So I'm glad that I can just enjoy it now. But in the same token, like it is a little difficult for me to just jump in. It's also far. It's down. I train downtown, so
Oh,
it's
dude.
like yeah, it's like a hike to get out there regularly.
Right.
Yeah. But jujitsu is fun. Like the different rules, it's like a playground. Like you can do so much more stuff than you can do in judo. So it's been really fun for me to just kind of dive into.
Oh, that's cool. Because you're a brown belt. Was a 3 stripe brown belt. You're on the door of black
Yes.
belt. You're a second or third degree in
Mm.
judo.
I'm third.
Uh,
Yeah.
you might as well just say badass on a card and walk away. Get a business card, just throw it at people. That's awesome, man. I had the pleasure, like I said, watching you do grappling and Brazilian jiu-jitsu out there, and I've seen some of your movements and seen how you move the girls and stuff. It's pretty cool. I remember watching you last somewhere. I think we were in Vegas. I watched you
Oh
last
yeah.
time.
Yeah, we were in
Yeah.
Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know. I get amazed by the stuff, especially when you know that person and you see him doing all the stuff right, and it's like, wow, I got beat up by her the other day. It was so great to see her do that. It was amazing, girl. But it's cool that your journey you're going. Now, are you going to Worlds this year?
I am not. I'm actually going on vacation. I'm gonna be in Greece, but
Oh man.
I'll live stream you guys. I'll FaceTime you from the pool.
Right? Get up, do it better, guys. Especially another drink over here, please.
Tony, no.
Why is he laying there again? Oh, jeez. Oh, I remember at Worlds last year when I competed for the first time
Oh,
in
I was
Brazilian
yelling.
Jiu-Jitsu. You were. I was
Oh,
like,
I was yelling.
Tony, watch out for this move. Oh, you mean that one? Okay, this one. Oh, you mean that one?
Dude,
But
I
it was
have to. It alleviates when I yell at you guys, it alleviates my stress, makes me feel better.
right.
That's what's
You're
important.
like good. But it was great having you guys over there, man. And the best part, we got off the mat and just listening to you talk to me. It was so cool though. You were telling me, well, this, that, don't worry about that, but this you should have done this. So next time do this and that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's just it was so cool to you have you telling me that. Then Patty gave me a shot of tequila, so we were good. And the party started.
Oh my God. That was traumatic. That was crazy.
But it was so much fun for me. It really
No, it was
was.
fun. It was fun. It was a
It
good
was fun for me.
time.
Dramatic part for you watching me get killed like that. When you watch people compete, do you get like you just said, you get antsy and just like, oh, come on, do this, do that.
Not everybody. I don't think antsy is the right word. I get excited watching everyone
Okay.
compete, but I don't know, coaching is like my second calling, I think. I really enjoy it and am passionate about it. So I feel
Yeah.
like that's the yelling side that comes out, like that's where it's coming from.
Okay. What's a good?
Uh
It's a good thing. You're not yelling, being rude. You're like, just move.
yeah, sometimes I don't know, sometimes and everyone's different, but sometimes like you know, how you enunciate is makes a difference. Because if I'm like,
Oh yeah.
okay, Tony, like move to your side, like you might take your time, but sometimes you just got to be like, no, you got to move right now, like you got to
There's
go.
urgency in it. Yeah, the
Yeah,
urgency in it. It was like,
like
yeah.
Yuri, like Yuri's one, like
Oh
I
yeah.
I'm yelling at him at tournaments. I'm gonna be yelling at him at this tournament. Like I,
The
he's
one
just
to
one of
Saturday.
those folks. Yeah, he's one of those guys that he does need that like little push in his head, like
Yeah.
you got to move now, like right this second, not like in 15 seconds.
Right. But that's the brilliance of a coach, though. You know your
Yeah.
guys. You know
Yeah,
who to
yeah,
talk to a certain way, and
for
that's
sure.
huge, though, man. That is huge. Well, how does Roz take your your coaching on the mat? For anybody that knows, she got engaged a year ago, right?
Yeah.
Got engaged in Vegas. Was it in Vegas?
It was in Vegas. Yeah.
Yeah. Roz was a brave man. That's awesome. He still is a brave man. So how does that relationship work with you guys training together sometimes and he's your uki a lot of times you're doing demos
Yeah.
and stuff. So how does that relationship work?
Well, took him a long time to be a good uke.
Yeah.
No, I mean it's fine. We're very chill about it. Like it's it's really cool knowing that I can train like 100% with him and he
Hmm.
doesn't get like I mean, he's stronger than me. He's a little faster than me, whatever. But it's really cool knowing that I can train hard with him and like we don't fight about it or any
Oh,
weirdness
that's
like that.
cool.
Like it's not and even someday like if he has a tournament coming up, like if he was doing worlds last year, there's practices where I'm like, "Do you wanna go with me or do you wanna just go with the guys for today?" And I don't
Yeah.
care because I get it and I understand, like, sometimes, like, if he's gonna wanna really push himself and go with, like, Jeziel and, like, Cullen and Matt Mols like, a bunch of
Yeah.
the guys who, like, move fast and they really challenge him,
Yeah.
I get it because I have those days too, and then I'm just like, "Okay," like, excuse me, like, "That's fine, like, I'll just get you next time," and
Yeah.
it's very chill, I think, because 'cause we've both been in the game for, like, many years.
Yeah.
It's just very, like, casual. It's not crazy.
That's cool, man. That's cool, man. Because well, that could have been or can be a problem with the
Oh, yeah.
couple on the mat, and one's up, 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 up. One's get hurt, not hurt them, but beat the
Yeah.
other one. They get upset, especially if the girl beats the guy.
Yeah.
He's gonna suck for a while. He's gonna be mad on that for a while.
I think he'll die on that hill, so that hasn't happened yet, but
There you go. I love you, baby, but I gotta finish you. The guys are watching. Oh man, but it's so cool because you guys, you're in the grappling arts, and he's doing the MMA, right? That's what he's doing,
Yeah.
right? Most of that.
Yes.
And I watched him for my first time watching him, and I was amazed. He's such a quiet guy, just really nice guy and quiet. Then I saw him beat the crap out of a guy. I was like, is that the
He's,
same
like,
guy?
goofy. Yeah. Yeah. That was for me, like, that's nerve-wracking for me, like, at
Yeah,
jujitsu tournaments, like, I don't really care because 'cause I'm like, I know what's
yeah,
going on,
yeah.
all the time, but ugh, and, like, when it's striking and he's getting hit, like, I do not like it, like, it freaks me out.
Oh man,
That would be anybody, like, I can't watching my older brother do judo when we were kids, I mean, dude, once we got to be, like, he got to be high school age and, all the boys, like, get big muscles and they
yeah.
grow and whatever, I was like, "Jesus Christ," I'm like, "You're gonna go against this guy?"
Come home, don't do it, don't
It
do
would
it.
freak me out, man, I'm like, "Jesus," I'm like, "Are you sure?"
You sure? You're
Some of
good.
those
You'll
kids
be
were big, man, it would be
wow. You'd be a great person in his corner at that time. Like, are you sure you want to do this? We can go home right now. Okay, you want to go in there?
Ugh,
Oh man, I'm telling you, I'm always blown away about you just from where you've gone and I mean where you come from and where you're going in the arts at such a young age. I still, I know you're 25 and you probably think that's not young. It really is. You accomplished a lot. So how is your training now? I mean, do you still, because I know you said you had certain injuries before, and
yeah.
do you train cautiously now, or you just, modify
Um
everything?
I mean, I've definitely calmed down a lot in how I'm training. Like if I'm training for when I was training for the Worlds a couple months ago, like that was definitely like I was pushing myself very hard and I'm doing
Yeah.
a lot of work for it to prepare myself. But unless I'm training for a big competition or any competition, I still I still train hard, but I'm definitely more like I'm not gonna go for any crazy submissions or try to like finish people every single round. Like it's a lot more chill.
Yeah.
Um It's definitely a lot more chill than what I was doing, like, previously, like, what I was doing for judo training was a lot less or excuse me, a lot more intense than what I do now,
Yeah.
but that's because I had to, like, it was a different obstacle, a different beast, and I was going up against, like, respectfully, when I go to the gym, like, I love everyone at the gym, but,
Yeah.
we're all, like, normal people for the most part, you
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean? Like,
Oh yeah.
but when I was training for judo, like those training sessions were to fight against like world medalists and Olympic medalists and like three-time Olympians and like
Oh
those were
geez.
really hard matches. So I'd be in there doing like shark tanking myself and being like
Oh my
I'd
gosh.
have like 5 kids at those practices and I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go 2 minutes with each one of you straight through, like a 10-minute round with 5 fresh bodies. Like,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So it was a lot more
Ooh.
intense kind of in that regard. And again,
Wow.
for competitions for jujitsu, like I do up the intensity a lot,
Yeah.
but there's like there's definitely a difference from when I was like 19, 20, like killing myself at judo practices doing this stuff,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
now where I'd be like, okay, like let's make this make sense.
Yeah. I get it. I get it. Now, when it comes to jujitsu, do you have any like, ultimate like you want your goal was to go to Olympics? You've done that in
hmm
judo. Now in jujitsu, what's your goal for jujitsu for you? Is it more of just I want to teach now, or where are you now?
Um, I'm not super like set into a goal. When I was training for the worlds, I was pretty I took it very seriously. I believe I lost to the girl who won
Okay.
first
Oh, well,
place.
okay.
So
That's
I
not
won my
bad at all.
first match, and
Yeah.
then my second match, yeah, I had the 1 seed, and I believe that girl went on to win, like, the tournament.
Okay.
Um, but, I was bummed because she didn't score any points on me. She had an advantage, so she
Oh,
won. So I was bummed,
yeah.
and like it was still my fault at the end of the day because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I couldn't pull
I
off like
get it.
my
I,
passing and stuff. But
yeah, I
the other
get it.
girl she went with was like she was sweeping, she submitted, so I was
Yeah.
like, oh, like it was a heartbreaker. But I learned from it and it was fun. It's fun for me training hard when I want to.
Oh,
And, like,
yeah.
when I'm preparing for a tournament that I want to go to, for
Yeah.
judo, it was a lot more like not I didn't want to go to the tournaments, but it was like I had to. It was
Right.
more of a necessity and, like, it was also, like, 8 times a year I was probably competing,
Yeah.
where now it's like there's worlds and maybe I do 1 or 2 big ones and that's kind of it.
Okay.
It's not as, I guess that's why I don't look at it as intense.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you spent your whole life being intense,
Yeah,
climbing that ladder. And
exactly.
now, when you made the decision to retire
Mhm.
from judo, was it like one of those moments that like slow motion crying and walk away kind of thing, or
Um, oof. Not really. I mean, I tr me retiring from judo, a big part of it was financial.
okay?
You don't make unless you're like Simone Biles, Michael Phelps,
Oh,
and you're like a
yeah,
huge
that's
name
different. Yeah,
Olympian, you make
yeah,
no money. Like
yeah,
when I was 18, I was getting like $1,000 check a month, and I was like, oh, I'm rich. Like, let's
yeah.
go.
I'm lit.
No bill. Yeah. But um, they changed the funding structure
Hmm.
after the 2020 Olympics, and I would have ended up making less money than what I had been making previous to being an
That's
Olympian.
crazy. That's
Yeah, so that
crazy.
was kind of like a shot for
Yeah,
me, like a strike for me, I'll say, and I was like, "Oh, that sucks." But I tried to like go a couple different routes to find funding pretty much because
yeah.
it's super expensive going to like everywhere around the world to compete.
Oh,
There are
absolutely.
Yeah, like USA Judo funds some events, but it was, it's so challenging and you can't work a job. You can't it's it's it's
That's
so hard to
crazy.
work a part-time or full-time job when you're like, "Oh, I got to leave for 2 weeks to go do this camp." Like that's not, it's not
Yeah,
really feasible. So, I
yeah,
tried to like a couple different routes, a couple like athletic clubs that sponsor some athletes.
yeah,
That was a no-go. They didn't want to throw me on there. And then just a couple local ones too, and
yeah,
it didn't pan out, and I'm like, "You know what? Like, for me, I exhausted all my options to try to do it.
yeah,
It
yeah,
didn't work out like 2 or 3 different times, and I was like, "Okay, like, I think that's it. I think I'm good here."
yeah.
And I think that kind of finalized my decision, if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
'Cause
Yeah,
life after judo is like important to me to have something to do after and like also enjoy my 20s a little bit and travel
yeah,
and like do fun stuff too and not just grind, 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 grind all the time.
yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, looking back, there's definitely potential that I was a little one foot out the door for continuing.
Hmm.
And I mean, money does motivate me, Tony. So
Right. I
I was
get it.
like,
Trust
if
me,
it
I get
was
it.
if it was like a reasonable amount, I probably would have continued doing it.
Oh,
But it
yeah.
was just so crazy. I'm like, I don't want to be a poor person at like 25, 26, and be that
No.
many more years behind in my life because,
Yep.
for any
Yep.
reason, really. So I just was like, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what did it. Yeah.
But you've climbed ladders that you've done something that most people couldn't even dream of doing. Already. So you reached that pinnacle. You know what I mean? You went to
Yeah.
Olympics. You've done great things. You've climbed all this life, have all these accolades, and you have no career that you can look back at and say, I didn't do much. You can't do that at all. Man, you've done a
Yeah.
lot. Holy cow. Well, I like to ask people this question, but I think, doing the podcast here, doing the whole episode, you've already
Mhm.
answered it, but I'm gonna ask anything anyway. What kind of principles do you have now that you build your life around?
A big one is definitely having a strong mindset. Like we did
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit, but
Yep.
it's just I'm not going to say in today's society, but just in general, like you just can't life is so much harder when you're weak-minded, if that makes sense. And
It
it's
makes a
it's
lot of
just
sense.
especially as like I'm gonna like as a young lady growing up, like you know, there's challenges everybody has, but it's really important to build self-confidence as a young girl. And I think that's something that doing judo and jiu-jitsu really, really helped me with.
Yeah.
You didn't know me when I was little, but I like was so quiet when I was a kid, Tony. Like I did
There's
not.
no way.
I know it's not weird. Like I would go to practice and I would like was so quiet. I wouldn't talk. Like I
Really?
was so shy. Yeah, I was very, very timid. And it took a
Wow.
long time to kind of break out of that shell for me. But I think sports like this that helped build my confidence are
Yeah.
something that made a difference in that. And then another
Yeah.
one for me is like being humble. Like that's one that kills me. Like really, really cocky, like whatever people. I live by the whole if you're good, you'll tell other people. If you're great, they'll tell you thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't stand people who are like, I'm the freaking man. Like,
Uh-huh.
don't even look this direct. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like okay, sure.
You're the smallest man in the room by saying that.
I hate, yeah,
Exactly
that
right.
I can't stand that. Like,
Yeah.
even the little, I will get on the little kids at our gym for that. Like when they, when they start sparring and they're like, they'll tell each other like, I beated you, I beated you like 4 times, and I'm like, okay, go do push-ups since you beated them 4 times.
Like,
I'm like,
what?
yeah, it's like rude, and I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not, it doesn't make you better saying that. The
Exactly.
best you're gonna be is just, they also know that they got beat 4 times, they got subbed 4 times. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you
Yeah.
don't need to make them feel bad about it, like on
Exactly.
top of that it already happened.
Right? Because they're beating themselves
Like,
up enough.
yeah, I'm like, what if they already feel bad? You want to make them feel worse? And they're like,
Yeah.
no, which they're like babies. They're like 6 years
Oh.
old. But I'm like, that from young, I'm like, you have to understand that. Cause I'm like, when I went to Japan, Tony, if I threw a girl and I was like, haha, I beat you. Oh my God. Do you know what happened to me?
Oh
Oh my
man.
God. They were throwing girls into the wooden floors. They were throwing girls off the
Oh.
mat. They didn't care.
Oh
I'm
my
like, I
gosh.
was like, that's not gonna be me. I'm not saying anything.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Did they have those rice mats over there? Or anything that you hear about those mats? Or they have regular
No.
tatami mats and all that stuff?
They had regular tatami mats.
Oh, okay. So when like old school, you out in the dirt getting thrown in concrete.
Oh God, no, absolutely not. That's how you learn defense, man.
Right?
You will ne- you will never pick me up. That's crazy. No. Thank God,
Oh,
no.
oh man. Woo, that would suck. Oh, the worst we've ever had back in the day, we did it on carpet. I was
Oh,
oh God, we were
ouch.
we were but look, I say this a lot, back in those days, we can't do half the stuff we can do now because that was child abuse back then.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy cow. But you know what? I enjoyed this thing so much. I'm telling you, I know you, but I know you better now. The mindset you
Yeah.
talked about is huge. And I know you got to get out of here. I know you got to do all that. I know you got a busy schedule, getting ready to go to the bar. No, I'm just joking. Uh,
10:30 a.m. Oh my God.
hey, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, whatever that
Yeah.
song said. But you know what? Before we get out of here, tell everyone how to get a hold of you. Give us all your stats. I know you're training and teaching over at Lake County. Give them all your
Yes.
stats.
I am I'm teaching at Lake County Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Mundelein. I'm the head instructor for the kids program. So if you guys have any kiddos in the area you want to bring by to try out a class, definitely come through. And then you guys can also find me on Instagram. That's my like biggest social media that I'm on consistently. My handle is NEF period Papadakis, which is my last name. And that's pretty much where I post all this cool judo stuff that I don't know anything about. So,
Got it. Yeah, you're making it up as you go, right?
100%.
Yeah.
It's the only way to do it.
That's right. Oh my gosh. Nefeli, I tell you, this has been awesome. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule. Like I said, at your age, and I don't want to sound like I'm that old fart in the corner. Yeah, when I was your age. But you've accomplished a lot, and I know you're busy. You're still on the go. And it's awesome, girl. Thank you so, so much for taking the time to do this for us today. And hopefully we get to do it again down the road after you beat a bunch more kids up. See where your school is growing. But I do
For
appreciate you
sure.
more than you
Thank you
know,
for
girl.
having me. Thank you so
Oh,
much for having me. It was a blast.
hey, that's awesome, girl. I appreciate you more than you know, and we will see you on the other side. Take care,
Sounds
girl.
good. Bye.
Bye bye now.
Oh, man.